Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
You have failed this city.
Wow. I know, right? Hey! Quit messing around!
I'm not messing around. I'm doing important stuff.
Welcome. Okay. It's you the right. What's the difference between you and me?
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
But that is being human.
Whoa, I forgot to remove that. There we go. What's going on, everybody? How's it going? Welcome back to another Watchtower. There we go. That's the word. That's the word I'm looking for. Watchtower. I'm hearing that there is a new poster. Is it the one that released at a bus stop earlier today? Because if that's the one, then yeah, it is pretty awesome. Yeah, he did officially release it. Let's do a little finagling here, a little finagly here, because that was going to be part of my discussion today. But we'll just do that, and we will pull that up. But I hope you are all having a wonderful day. I apologize for not being able to do the show yesterday. Mentally, I was checked out, not from Superman, not from the pop culture talk, just, there's just things going on, and I just mentally was just not here, not able to give 100%, and I'm feeling better today. Needed some rest, needed some things going on, so we're back, everybody. We're back, ready to do our stuff, ready to do our things. Hope you're ready to go. Xander's here. He says, I made it. Yes, you did. Glad to see you here. Jonathan Noble said, hey, Slavs, what's going on, Jonathan? Glad to see you here. Trayvon says, we're here sitting around the Justice League table at the Watchtower satellite. Yes, we are. Donovan says, Slavs Free Talk, first influencer reactions are June 25th. I would advise to limit time on social media or outright start distance away from socials for a couple of weeks. Look, for me, I don't mind spoilers. I really don't. But for those of you who do worry about spoilers, if people are going to be seeing it early, if you're going to start seeing pundits and red carpet premieres happening within the next couple weeks, you may want to stay off social media, maybe mute some Superman words and so on and so forth. Stay away. Don't get caught up. And Hope for Life says, hey, Slav, good to see you. Missed you yesterday. Yeah, again, apologies for that. All right, let's get in. We have a lot. There is a huge amount of DC stuff to talk about today. So let's dive in. So the first thing I want to bring up, this one here, just quickly, because it is DC related, but not DCU related. No, I'm sorry. This is DCU related. I apologize. Not Superman related. Man, see, I'm still not quite all here. It's not Superman related. But we have finally gotten a casting of our Clayface, which is due to start filming here within the next few months. James Gunn says, after a long and incredible exhaustive search, we finally have our DCU Clayface and Tom Reese Harries. Both Matt Reeves and I were just blown away by this guy and can't wait for you to see this film, directed by James Watkins and written by Mike Flanagan. Now, some of you may be questioning, who is Tom Reese Harries? Couldn't tell you. I have no idea who this guy is. I have not a clue. So I couldn't tell you whether or not he's perfect for this role or if he's going to be amazing for this film. If he's going to slide right into the DC universe and be a force to be reckoned with, I couldn't tell you. But I can tell you this. What makes me excited is James Gunn doesn't mess with his castings. Honestly, go back through the history of his films. He doesn't mess with castings. I get that he isn't necessarily the one that is sitting there picking out all the castings because this is not his movie. He's not the one directing it. He's not the one that wrote it. This is James Watkins' film. But him and Matt Reeves were involved with the casting process because remember, Matt Reeves is a producer on this movie. So when I sit there and think about it, Matt Reeves, another fantastic filmmaker, I have high amount of confidence in these filmmakers, all three of these filmmakers, James Watkins, Matt Reeves, and James Gunn, that they picked the right man for this job. That's number one. Number two, which makes me really, really, really excited about this is going to be an R horror film, R-rated horror film, guys. Look, I'm not a big horror movie fan. I talk about that all the time on Slav's Free Talk podcast and everything like that. I'm not a horror movie fan, but I do like body horror. I do like the idea. I don't like body horror. I like the idea of them doing body horror in DC. It's about setting up this new idea, this new universe, and giving us all these new tones, all these new ideas, all these new avenues to explore within DC. I know you've probably heard other podcasters, I know you've probably heard other commentators talk about this. Superman is going to be a $200+ million budget film. That's going to be a quote unquote tentpole film. Clayface is probably going to be, under $100 million to make. Maybe around $100 million or south of it. And that's perfect because you are going to be able to get more content out that's built within the universe in a different way at a lower cost, low risk, and you're going to have some high reward. People love horror films, and then you're going to set it up in the DC universe. So not only are you going to get the horror movie fans go into this film, but then you're going to get the comic book movie DC fans go into this film. I'm not going to sit here and say it's going to be $1 billion movie, but we have seen movies that are based on villains hit that 800, 700, $1 billion box office mark before with Jokers and the Venoms. Like, that's possible. Again, I'm not saying that that's going to happen here, but it's not like it's out of the realm of possibility. This could be a huge hit for DC in taking a swing, taking a chance in something different like this. Now, this Tom Rhys-Harries, I don't know who he is. I've never seen him in anything, but that's okay. You don't need to, because that's not the selling point of this movie. The selling point of this movie is that it's a horror movie set in the DCU about Clayface. It is written by Mike Flanagan. And those are the selling points of this movie. And that's exciting. That is truly exciting. Look, there's going to be so much more that comes out around this film over the next coming months. And I think as time comes along and we start hearing things, we're going to get a better idea of where it sits in the continuity of DC. Does it take place before Superman or after Superman? Remember, James Gunn has stated like everything that happens in Superman in the DCU is pretty much chronological right now. So I'm guessing that this is going to happen after Superman, post Lanterns, post Supergirl, because this will probably come out after all those. So this will be coming, this will take place after all of that. And the reason why I bring that up is because people are asking, is this the Clayface from Creature Commandos? And James Gunn just kind of, in a weird, snarky way, says, I guess we'll all find out, or, you'll find out, essentially. So that's a very interesting way to say that. But look, I'm all for it. I think this is exciting. I think this is going to be a movie that will truly showcase the different way that this studio and this universe is going to be handled compared to Marvel or compared to the DCEU of past. And this is something that I've been talking about for months and months and months and months, that so many other people have been saying, well, we can't trust anything because James Gunn is this and James Gunn, like, no, like, trust the process. Let's see what happens. They're moving full steam ahead. Let's see what happens. But I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comments. So please let me know your thoughts on Clayface. Let me know what you think of Tom Rhys-Harris as Clayface. Love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button, hit subscribe below. All right, what are you guys saying over here? Hopeful Life says, as a horror movie fan and a DC fan, this is a film I am very excited for. I believe it. Trayvon says, make that Paramount CEOs. You're talking about something else up there, I'm sure. Trayvon says, Superman, Peacemaker, Lantern, Supergirl, and Clayface DC Renaissance, brought to you by James Francis Gunn Jr. and David Michael Zaslav. Don't forget about Peter Safran. I don't know what his middle name is. Randola Qualquare. I hope I said your name correctly. How much money do you think Superman is going to make in its final worldwide box office? My estimation, Randola, has been anywhere between 700 and 800 million. That has been my estimation for quite some time. I want to, like, that may change after opening weekend. I want to see how that happens. That might adjust, that might jump up, but it's for some time I've been saying between 7 and 8. I'm comfortable with that. I know there's a lot of people who say that, oh, it's going to hit $1 billion. I think it has the potential to hit $1 billion. I do believe it has the potential, but I really believe that it's going to hit between that 700, 800 million, give or take, $1 million range, somewhere around there. I can't give you like a finite, not like 811 million. Like, I don't know that, but you'd say like 7 to 8, maybe a little more than 8, maybe a little more than 7, somewhere around there. That's what I'm predicting. What else do we got over here? Xander Wild says Superman will soar. Indeed he will. Indeed he will. Xander also asks, did you see the second edition Superman suit in Fortnite's new season? I did. It's a throwback to the Fleischer comics, if I'm not mistaken. Trayvon says, something to remember, if Man of Steel was made today, it would have cost 310 to 356 million. Yes, with inflation. People love to talk about inflation. I do not. And Trayvon says, $2 billion Superman will make. Yes, Trayvon, I know. You and the 2 billion. Jalen Harris says, hello, what's going on, Jalen? All right, let's move on. Move on. Jalen also says that Superman will make $1 billion. Look at this, guys. Look at this. This poster made its way online early this morning, and somebody saw it on a bus stop, I believe it was. This is easily one of the best, if not the best, movie posters that we have seen in years. And I'm not just saying that because it's Superman. I would have said that if anybody would have created a poster like this. This poster is phenomenal. I love posters like these. This harkens back to the 70s and the 80s and how movie posters used to be made. Now, we've talked about this. I believe it was on Slav's Free Talk. I want to say it may have been on Bridging the Geekdoms on my old show. But I've talked about movie posters before, and I've discussed like how there's been such a huge shift in how movie posters have been made over the years. And I totally dislike what they do with movie posters nowadays. It all comes down to contracts, though. And to me, that is something that is truly annoying, because what they do is all the actors that are in a movie, they want to be featured on the poster, because if they're featured on the poster, then people are going to know that they're in the movie, and it's going to help them get more famous or whatever it is. It's stupid. So they put this whole thing in their contracts that say, hey, I want X amount of money for this movie, plus I want a feature spot on the poster. So then we get these stupid, ugly posters with what people now call the floating head posters. And we see them all the time. And they are just horrendous. Let me see if I can find, some of the worst floating head posters that are out there because they're bad. They're really, really, really bad. Like some of them are terrible. Um Here, I'll pull one up right here. Images. So these here are floating head posters. Iron Man's a really, really bad one here. Like that is a floating head poster if I've ever seen one right here. You get Iron Man, and then you get a floating head, a floating head, a floating head, and then you get a kind of a full body there. Like that's terrible. Venom's another terrible one. Look at all these floaty heads. Look at it. Look at them. So bad. Madam Web's a bad one. All the floaty heads. All the floaty heads. Dune, floaty heads, woo, floaty heads, so many floaty heads. And look, it even started way back in the 90s with The Fifth Element. Come on. The Final Destination movies kind of had it. Like you can go back and really see, like there was a time when this all started to happen. And even with the Star Wars movies, it was happening, specifically with the prequel trilogy. It was happening. But you can tell it was like the 90s into the 2000s. It really started taking shape, and it really affects and really happens through the 2000s and current times. I mean, it's crazy just how bad it is. Floating head posters are horrendous. Like they're just terrible. You don't get a lot of good looking posters like this anymore. Like this, that just really stand out. Now, sometimes you'll get character posters. Okay. You'll get these character posters that are just a single character that's just standing there. And it's like, hey, here's Lex Luthor, or hey, here's Anakin Skywalker, or hey, here's this, or hey, there's, it's just showing one character, but it's not the official movie poster. And sometimes those are really good, but they're not like official posters. You can tell it's just like a quick, sometimes it's just a quick image that they took from the movie and they just threw up on a poster just to say, hey, here's a character poster. This here, I don't know how to say, like this could be something like that. Like this could be a scene where they took it out of the movie, but it looks like they actually took some time to detail this poster a little bit. But you also get the other cast and crew down here, or not crew, but the other cast down here at the bottom. It highlights everything. Like this is one of the best posters that I think we've ever seen. It's fantastic. Like I don't understand why more studios don't look at this and say, look, this is how we want to go. I get actors are full of themselves and they want to be on the poster and be highlighted, but let's be honest here. The posters are supposed to help sell the movie, and unless you are one of the 2, sometimes 3 stars of the film, you're not one of the reasons why the movie is going to be sold. And to be honest, you take a look at all the faces down here. Rachel Brosnahan, Nicholas Hoult, and David Cornsweet are really the only 3 characters that should be selling this movie. Don't get me wrong, Edie Gathegi and Skylar Gisondo and all the other characters cast members, I can't think of the names right now. They're all good actors and great actors in their own right, but they're all side characters. They're all characters that are there to supporting roles. So I wouldn't want to see them all on the poster. Like I don't care about them being on the poster. Sell me the movie with the main cast, and that's what all movies should do. This is perfect, 100% perfect. Like this should be the poster. Like hands down, this should be the poster. This should be the cover of the DVD, Blu-ray, whatever it is that comes out in 6 months or 5 months, whenever the DVD, Blu-ray comes out. The steelbook cover. This should be the cover. Like that is how good this is. I don't know if they understand what they have here, but it is that good. I just think that it's phenomenal, and I hope that other studios take notice and say, you know what? That's pretty damn good. We need to stop giving in to these actors and, feed into their egos. That's what they need to do. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you had to say about this amazing, amazing poster. All right. What do we have over here? Resident Justice stops in. He goes, yo, what's going on, Resident Justice? He goes, I've not seen the first 30 minutes. Those 30 minutes weren't the first 30 minutes anyways. It was just 30 minutes of overall footage. There you go. What are you guys talking about Trunks for? Lawrence Fury says, Spider-Man No Way Home had floating heads. Yeah, it did. Donovan says, the Venom one sucks balls. It does. It does. Donovan Martin says, the Star Wars posters were great. The Star Wars posters were good, for sure, but they still had the floating heads. D-Man 7, I just hope he gets a diaperless suit in the future. Come on. It's not a diaper. Come on. Jonathan Noble says, if we see any Snyder vampires out in the sun on July 11th and so on, we get to make sure they're not spending money because, after all, their wallets are closed. If they're not already Superman sunburned. Let's see. What else do we got? Trayvon says, that poster is so sweet. Resident Justice says, yeah, they're doing screenings as soon as next Wednesday. Oh, boy. That's scary. That is scary. It'd be nice to see it early, but hey, it is what it is. RJ also says, I believe the social media embargo doesn't lift until July 2nd, though. Maybe not even until July 7th for the LA premiere. Well, there you have it. All right. Now, there is, like I said, there's a plethora of news. I'm going to pull up this EW Entertainment Weekly article, much like what James Gunn did. What was it? Like a week ago, not even a week ago, the other day with Rolling Stone. James Gunn had an article, an interview with Entertainment Weekly. And there's a lot of good stuff. And we're going to kind of go through this here step by step and discuss some of the things. Now, there's some things I'm going to skip over because some of it is just kind of like talking about things that we've talked about in the past. It kind of seems like this interview happened maybe a couple of weeks ago because there's a lot of information that you read in here and you're like, wait a minute, this happened, or he talked about this in this article, or talked about this here. So it looks like this happened before he made some additional comments later on. But this is still a really, really good article. So, Entertainment Weekly asked him, you are one of the very few filmmakers, probably the only head of a studio who is active on social media. When did you decide that you really wanted that sort of direct line of communication between DC fans? So, I like this question. I wanted to start with this question here because that is one of the biggest complaints that people have with him, that have complaints with James Gunn, is that he talks too much on social media. And I'm going to be honest, that's one of the things that I have a problem with sometimes, is that I have some issues that sometimes I think he just needs to back off of social media. Sometimes I think he needs to just, hey, let's just not talk, because that it just stirs the pot a little too much. Let the Slavs of the world stir the pot. James Gunn, you don't need to stir the pot. Let the Slavs of the world stir the pot. But I get it. I do. I get it. So he goes, I think it just happened naturally. In fact, I'm much less active than I have been on social media, just mostly because I'm busy, but also because it's just too much. I've been on social media since MySpace took off and have had a lot of interaction with fans online since that time. I'm from Manchester, Missouri. I think that's Missouri, right? I don't know. Or is that Montana? I don't know. The M states are too many. There's too many M states. I didn't know anyone in Hollywood those few moments where I was young, and I was able to interact with somebody who was part of this, what I thought of as a magical and distant and far away world of Hollywood or entertainment media in general. Whether it was a local DJ or Joe Strummer, who I met as a kid, or Pierce Brosnan, who I met when I was a kid, really meant a lot. And he's right. I remember years ago, before I found out that I think he's a not very good human being, and I also found out that he does it. He used to do it to everybody on X or Twitter. I remember the one time Mark Hamill responded to a tweet of mine. This was like 10 years ago or something like that, before I was doing all of this. And I was like, holy crap, Mark Hamill, like this is crazy. And to me, that just kind of blew me away. It's one of those things that, you look up to actors, you look up to certain people, and you're like, man, I would love to talk to this guy, hear from him. And social media is kind of that gateway. It's that way that you can actually have an interaction with some of those elites in Hollywood sometimes. Another one that will do that from time to time is Kevin Smith. You can sometimes get a reaction from him on social media, and it's really cool to get those reactions sometimes. So I get where he's coming from, because as somebody like him who wanted those interactions when he was younger and got them, he understands that for some people, it's the only way that you can get it. And that's pretty cool. He says, I've always wanted to give that same thing back in terms of realizing these people are buying tickets to my movies and making fan art, and all these things are just people, and to treat them with the respect that human beings deserve, and creating that type of mutual respect with fans that they deserve. And that's great. Again, I love that. And he's also asked about, debunking rumors on there. He goes, there are a couple of people specifically who have pretty large followings who just consistently put out false stories, just one right after the other, 95% of the time. Maybe once out of every 20 times they say something that has some slight or partial bias in reality. And it gets to be old. I'm not sure some of those people, but I'm not actually helping them in a certain way by debunking them, because they're giving them traffic, which I always do, but I think they like it. So I mostly quit. But every once in a while, there's a story that gets out of hand quickly that has the possibility of hurting someone's feelings. For instance, if there's a director we're talking to about a project, and all of a sudden it comes out a story that so-and-so other director who has nothing to do with anything is doing this project, you want to kill that pretty quickly because it's not true. Same thing with actors or whomever. So if people's feelings are at stake, there's something that's getting out of hand, I'll shut it down. Bravo, James Gunn. And I love to hear it, actually. Well, real claps there. Real claps. Bravo, James Gunn. Bravo. I love to hear it. I love to hear it, because that kind of stuff needs to happen. 100% needs to happen, and I hope that he continues to do that, because they that kind of stuff needs to be shut down. 100% needs to be shut down. Absolutely. There's I'm gonna skip this part here. Where's it at here? This talks about like the Ultraman figure. He's already kind of talked about this. He talks about how Ultraman is sort of Lex's thug and that he's pretty powerful, but he doesn't really dive into who Ultraman is, which I think is kind of keeping it a surprise for the movie. He also talks about the Hammer of Bavaria. He also talks about how nothing in this movie that happens in Metropolis happens that isn't because of Lex Luthor. So there's that. Let's see. Where's this at? Oh, here we go. This one. This is a big one I want to talk about here. He goes, there was this situation on social media where people thought David flying was a CG superimposed thing. Was that telling when you talk about having to figure out how to pull off these mechanics of getting David to fly authentically? He says, no, I don't think it was so much. It was a TV commercial, and it wasn't a finished visual effects shot. So the part of him flying, it was a photograph of his face and him flying. It was a photograph of a drone flying in front of an actual background. So all the pieces were real, but it was incorporated in kind of a funky way. I didn't love the shot, so it's not even the shot that's in the movie. Sometimes I'm pretty strict about when I'm going through a trailer and looking at each of the shots, but sometimes the commercials, I forget to look at this closely. So that one kind of got by me. Okay. All right. I got to stop there for a second. Well, let's see. I do have the shot here somewhere. Where's it at? So many things here. So many things. That's not going to pop up. That's not going to pop up. I did have the shot here. There it is. Right here. Right here. So here's the shot that he's talking about. I'm sure you all remember this shot here where he's flying and you see his face, and everybody complained about the eye specifically. That's what everybody's talking about. Now, I still stand here and say, I don't think there's that much of a problem with the shot. I've always admitted that, yeah, the eye looks wonky. It does. But I also admit that, look, whenever you're looking and the shot, and we didn't know the whole context of the shot, I agreed. Like, there's a possibility that there could be a reason why his eye looked like it did. But I admit it, the eye looked wonky. But besides that, everything else about the shot I thought looked really good. And I still believe that. It's in my opening for the show. So I think it looks good. Now, let's break this down a little bit, because there's a lot of people out there trying to say, oh, so James Gunn lied? Because he said months ago when that TV spot came out that there was no VFX at all. Well, where does he say that there was VFX? He says that the part of him flying, it was a photograph of his face. No VFX there. It was a photograph of a drone flying in front of an actual background. No VFX there. So all the pieces were real. No VFX. But it was incorporated in kind of a funky way. I didn't love the shot. So it's not even the shot that's in the movie. Oh, okay. Let's see. But the first thing he says is it was a TV commercial and it wasn't a finished visual effects shot. So the shot that we saw was not a finished visual effects shot. The photo of his face did not have any visual effects. The drone shot had no visual effects. And that made it to the TV commercial. He said months ago when it came out that there were no visual effects. He says that there are no visual effects here. And people are sitting there complaining and saying that he lied months ago. Whew. That is bizarre. That is bizarre. Anyway, so people, freaking out about that as per usual, that's how it is. Freaking out, trying to make something up and put words in James Gunn's mouth. Now he also says, what did he say? So all the pieces are real. I didn't love the shot. So it's not even the shot that's in the movie. It's not even the shot that's in the movie. Now you have a lot of people sitting there saying, oh, the Snyder Bros complained so much about it, he took it out of the movie. The whole, that scene is out of the movie. It's all out of the movie. No, that's not what, that specific shot, that one from the TV spot is not in the movie. It could be a different shot that is the same scene, just a different shot. Do people realize? I don't know if people understand or realize how movies are made. Okay, I just want to put this out there real quick. I don't know if you understand this. I know a lot of you do. But some of these people I don't think they understand is when they film a movie, typically, they take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, shots of the same scene. The reason why they take multiple shots of a scene is because sometimes it's from different angles. Sometimes they don't like what they get the first time. They want to get something different the second time. They don't like the emotion. They don't like this. They don't like that. It just depends on what the director is looking for and how they want it. I don't get, the mind of these people sometimes. It's just baffling to me. Just absolutely baffling. So that's where we stand here. This shot, obviously, the one we saw in the TV spot may look mightily different in the movie, which is fine. That is fine. And he addresses it. Again, that's fine. It's his right. He's the director. He can address it. But people just get out of hand. They really do. They get out of hand. All right. So then it's brought up the first phase called Gods and Monsters. How much of Superman is really crucial to the overarching story? He goes, oh, it's very important. He says, I wouldn't say Creature Commandos is important, but Peacemaker and Superman are both pretty important in terms of getting to the bigger story. At the same time, I'm really trying to be careful that anybody can dip and see the story that is up next and not feel like they're missing information. The other stories can provide added content or texture to what you're watching. That might change down the line as we get deeper into what's happening in this universe. It could be like Infinity War and Endgame, where you kind of have to see Infinity War to know what's going on in Endgame. But right now, I'm trying to keep it so that you don't have to see Superman to see Supergirl, for example. Even though there's a lot of stuff in Superman that leads to Peacemaker, you certainly don't need to see it to see Peacemaker. It's just good if you have, but we also say previously in the DCU before every episode, so the TV stuff's pretty easy. Look, He's talked about that many times, and I think it's a good thing. It is a good thing because it's one of those things that the MCU struggles with today. 38 projects in now, or 30 now. What is it? It's almost 40 projects in now, right? And that is what's getting pretty tough for him. Pretty tough. So I think that you sit back, you take your time, let people just dip their toes in, see what it's like, specifically, especially early on in this universe. And then as you move on, make it a little more connected. People can go back and see everything, go like that. I think that's the smart move. It really is a smart move. Let's see. What do we got over here in the comments? Kicks says James Gunn is interacting with social media more than any director I've seen, and it's good to see that he is. I agree. To a point. To a point. Like I said, sometimes I think he needs to let things go, which he has been doing a lot more of. He has, for sure. Lawrence Fury says it's crazy how much backlash Superman gets, but Avengers Doomsday doesn't get that much backlash for an unfinished script. I don't think this script is unfinished. I think that it's more that the overall story of what they're doing with Secret Wars and Doomsday is not necessarily complete. I think the Doomsday script is finished, but I think that they can go multiple directions when it comes to it. That's kind of what I've heard. I don't know how true that is, though. Oh, look, Movie Talk Now says the unfinished script for Doomsday isn't true. He says it's just actors don't have the full script. There you go. And he says that's to avoid leaks. Kick says this is his biggest work ever. Also, he has become the CEO, talking about James Gunn. Michael McDonald says, think Snyder Bros only like Henry Cavill because he's got huge muscles. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, could be. All right, moving on. Let's see. I don't want to talk about Zaslav there. Oh, here you go. They go, have you cast the other... Oh, wait, no. Here we go. David Zaslav. I do want to talk about that. He says, David Zaslav mentioned about Supergirl, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman being the core pillars of DC, at least for now. Is that accurate? He says, yeah, I think that's accurate, actually. I think that he got that from me. I wouldn't say only those 4 characters, but I would say that those 4 characters are incredibly important to us right now. I feel great about where those 2 characters are, or where 2 of those characters are, and then we're dealing with the other 2. They ask him, have you cast the other 2, Wonder Woman and Batman? He says, no. Well, we cast Robert Pattinson, so he's still there, but he's still important. What Matt's doing is really important, despite all stories to the contrary. We're supposed to see that script shortly, and I can't wait. Okay, so this one, he says, no, well, we cast Robert Pattinson. People are freaking out. He didn't cast Robert Pattinson. No, he's saying the royal we as DC. Like, they cast Robert Pattinson, okay? He's not saying he cast Robert Pattinson. Get over it, people. You're ridiculous. But no, they haven't cast Batman or Wonder Woman. Is he just being facetious here? Or did they actually cast one or both? Or did he just say, no, we haven't, and we shouldn't expect to see either one of them anytime soon? At this point, I would say, I'm going to side with Gunn here and say, maybe they haven't cast either one, and they're waiting. Will we see Batman cast for Clayface? Will we have to wait and see much later? I don't know, but we'll have to see, I guess. One thing that you and Peter emphasized early on is bringing the idea of unity and cohesion across all these DC titles, but then you also have these Elseworld titles like Reeves films and the Penguin series. How do you see these things remaining true? He says, well, it's going to be mostly DCU, and then occasionally there's some Elseworlds tales. There are things that are naturally lend themselves to Elseworld tales. We have a lot of animated projects, and they are sort of a different beast. They aren't all like Creature Commandos. The truth is, the DCU, we give people a lot of freedom to tell different stories, but also we have to be really involved to make sure that they say the power set of Supergirl and Superman are the same. There's a lot of really silly shit that we have to give notes on in screenplays, like powers or what cities exist in the DCU that don't exist in other places. We aren't the regular world. We're the DCU. There isn't necessarily Seattle, but there's an Evergreen. There isn't necessarily a New York, but there's a Gotham. So all that type of stuff needs to be dialed in. So there's definitely room for people to tell other stories. And when it's somebody who's important, like Matt Reeves, who I've had an admiration for a long time as one of the very, very few filmmakers who is out there making making spectacle commercial fare that is also an artist, then you have to stand up and listen. The script still needs to be good. We're not going to make it unless we like the script. But I think that there are exceptions. I told it to one person who came in and pitched something that was an Elseworlds tale. It was it was a very, 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 very famous movie actor. I said, it depends on how the screenplay comes out. If it's a masterpiece, I'll make it. But it has to be a masterpiece. And he's like, I don't know if it's a masterpiece. He got all funny. He's still working on it, though. He's still trying to do it. So we'll see. Masterpiece might be pushing it, but it's got to be really great. If it's an Elseworlds tale, then it's worth telling something that might tend to confuse a few people. But also part of our thing is really being clear about what is Elseworlds and what is DCU. And the other thing is not just giving away properties like they're party favors to people doing low-budget TV shows or stuff like that we have no quality control over because we're making a few $1,000s on rights. It is having some sense of quality control over everything. So, I love that. We've talked about the Elseworld stuff for quite some time. We've talked about how the idea of Elseworlds is great. I've always been more of a fan of saying Elseworlds should wait. Elseworlds should happen down the line. Focus on DCU right now. Get that all built up, established, so people don't get confused then. It's nice to see that he is, and Peter Safran are worried that there could be some confusion because absolutely there could be. But I do agree that they need to get the perfect script, and they should worry and definitely count on getting the perfect script, because if you don't have a good script, then what's the point of making it? And that was the problem with the DCEU. That's the problem that's been going on with the MCU. You need to have good scripts so you have good films, and that's what's going to push both the DCU and the DCEU forward and to the future. So that's what you have to worry about there. They then talk about Clayface, which I just talked about a little bit ago, so we're not going to go back into Clayface here. Then he goes, in terms of timeline for Gods and Monsters phase, Superman is shot and coming out this year. Peacemaker Season 2 coming out this year. Supergirl is wrapped. Clayface is going to be filmed. What's the next project that's closest to starting principal photography? This is fun. He says, I'm about to wrap Peacemaker. Peacemaker and Superman are both going to end up being sound mixed and color timed at about the same time in the next 2 weeks. This is why I think this was a few weeks ago that he was interviewed. He says, we're going to see early episodes of that soon. Lanterns is halfway through filming. We're going to see early episodes of that soon. Then there's another TV show that's my favorite thing in all of this. That is hopefully getting made soon. What could that be? It's just my favorite thing. And then there's this movie. Oh, shit. I don't know what I'm allowed to say or not say. I love how he does that. We'll continue for a second. But there's a couple of other movies that are being written, one of which is in pretty good shape, another which is kind of closer to the start, but we feel positive about. And then there's a thing I'm writing, which I think it's okay. So that will be the next thing after Clayface. Is not 100% certain, but it's pretty certain. So he goes on a little more, but talk about this. I love how he goes, I don't know what I'm allowed to say or not say. You're the damn CEO, James. You can say whatever you want to say. But I think it's funny because there's still a little bit of this uncertainty in his role and what he can and can't do. I do love it. But there's also Peter Safran, let's not forget, Peter Safran is technically, Peter Safran was the one that was like kind of hired first, and he's the one that brought James Gunn in. James Gunn is the creative guy. Let's not forget that. So Peter Safran is kind of the one running the ship with James Gunn going for the ride here. That's not to take anything away from James Gunn, but I there's a part of me that kind of thinks like Peter Safran kind of runs the show a little bit more than James Gunn does, which is fine because James Gunn is the creative force. He's the creative guy behind everything, which is perfectly fine. But what could this be? What is this show that is his favorite that he is so looking forward to? That's what I'm interested in finding out, because look, okay, let me read this next part, and then we'll get into it, because I'm real excited about some of this stuff here. So the interviewer says, how much of these undisclosed titles are things that have already been announced versus things that haven't? Gunn says, my favorite thing has not been announced at all. One of the scripts people kind of know about. My script people don't know about. The other script people don't know about. So it's mostly stuff people don't know about. A couple of those things announced in January 2023 are in pretty good shape in terms of coming up. But there was one thing that I knew about from the very beginning, that when I pitched to David Zaslav what the DCU would be, I pitched it to him. But we did not announce it that first meeting because I felt that it was too easy to rip off by another company. And so that's one of the main things. All right. First and foremost, they have a plan. I have a plan. It's a Red Dead thing. Okay. Anyways, so they have a plan. All these people who sit there and say, they don't have a plan, they don't know what they're doing, they don't have a plan. No, they have a plan. Besides those few titles that they gave us and that little bit of thing in January 2023, they have a much larger plan than that. Okay? He talks about it when it comes to Clayface. He sits there and says, when it comes to Clayface wasn't something that we were really, truly thinking about, but we got a script that was great, so we thought, hey, we have to do it. Those types of things will pop up. Absolutely. Those types of things are going to pop up. It probably happens with Kevin Feige over at Marvel. I'm sure it's happened with Kathy Kennedy at Star Wars. It happens with the greatest studios ever, the greatest studio heads ever. They have a plan. They say, oh, I have these films lined up that I want to make. And then somebody comes in with a movie and are like, holy crap, I love this script. We got to make it. We got to shift some things to make this movie. That'll happen. But they have a plan. They 100% have a plan. The fact that he's sitting here and he's so excited about this show, a show that he is so over the moon and excited about, I can't wait to hear. We don't know what it is, but he's excited about it. That's number one. Number two, he's writing a script that nobody knows about, which, let's face it, I'm a James Gunn fan, so I'm automatically excited about that. So that's something separate. Like the way he talks about it, we have a TV show that is his favorite thing that they haven't announced yet. He's writing something that nobody knows about. I'm excited about that. But then there's this other thing that they're afraid to talk about because it's easy to rip off. And he doesn't want anybody to rip them off for this. What the heck could it be? What could it be? I mean, when you think about the comic world, for instance, the comic book world, we've seen Marvel rip off DC, DC rip off Marvel countless times throughout the years. Hell, you can even sit there and say Civil War ripped off Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. You can even say that. They kind of did. But in the grand scheme of things, like, what could it be? I know I saw people online trying to say, oh, they're going to make Kingdom Come, or oh, it has to be a Justice League movie, or no, it's not going to be Justice League because they did the Avengers, and that's basically the same thing. It's not going to be Kingdom Come because you can't do Kingdom Come. Like, what could it be? That's exciting. This stuff is exciting. But you know what? You know what really makes me excited about this? You know what really, really makes me excited about this? I talked about this the other day. Superman comes out in just a couple weeks. And it's going to be phenomenal. We're all excited about Superman. I'm excited about Superman. You're excited about Superman. Superman's going to do great. But they have this plan for the DCU. They are moving full steam ahead. There's so many people who sit there and they try to say, if Superman doesn't make enough money, that's it for James Gunn, the DCU. It's over. That's it. It's over. They're done. They're done. It's over. Nah, man. Nah. That's not what's happening. First off, Superman's not going to struggle. It's not going to fail. It's going to make plenty of money. They're going to get the money they need to move forward, regardless. But they have things in motion. Just imagine. Just think. As soon as soon as this movie, Superman, makes that 700, $800 million, they're going to greenlight like 3 or 4 things. The DCU is off to the races, guys. Can you imagine how exciting this is going to be? Boom, 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 boom. They know what they have in store. They're excited about it. But they're going to be off to the races faster than any studio has ever been before. And I don't think I could be any more excited to be a DC fan. And this is multiple reasons why. Because one, look, in 2016, when they were like, the dawn of the Justice League, look at all these films that are coming out. Like, that was cool. And I was excited about it. Yeah, that was neat. That was fun and exciting. Jeff Johns and Kevin Smith talking about Cyborg and The Flash and Aquaman and Shazam and all that stuff. Woohoo, those are cool. But right now, there's so much unknown. That's exciting. Number 2, the way that James Gunn talks about this, the way that they've already shown us Superman, Lanterns, Clayface, Supergirl, Peacemaker, five different tones out of 5 different projects. How diverse this universe is going to be. Guys, this is going to be unlike any universe we've ever seen before. I can't wait. I cannot wait to witness it. I cannot wait. All right. I see a bunch of you over there. Woo. I don't know if you guys are getting as amped up as I am, but I look, it's awesome. It is awesome. Let's see. Jonathan Noble says, James Gunn mentioned that his Superman wasn't going to be so powerful enough to punch planets. Do you think he'll at least be more stronger than the Hulk? I mean, maybe. I will have to see how he is in the movie to see how strong he is, but different universes, so it'll be kind of hard to tell. Which Hulk are we talking about? Edward Norton Hulk, Savage Hulk, Smart Hulk? Like, which Hulk were we talking about here? MCU Hulk just sucks, really, but what are we talking about? I think he'll be strong, but I think his power will grow over time. I think that's going to be something that's going to be interesting to witness through this iteration of Superman. I think it's going to be slightly different in that way. So it should be interesting to see how they go with it. What else do we say? Who just dropped a video? Kix says he just dropped a video. Who are you talking about? Let's see. Lawrence says, I think they're doing their own project with the comic books inspired them. I don't know what you're talking about there either. All right, you guys are talking amongst yourselves. I'll let you do that. Bass Reeves says, wallet's closed. Man, that's no fun. That's no fun. Go watch the movie. Go check it out. See if you'll enjoy it. There's no reasons for wallets closed. No reason at all. All right. James Gunn has asked, is a Superman sequel on your mind? He says, what I'm working on is in some way, I mean, yes, but is it a straight up Superman sequel? I would not say necessarily. Well, that's interesting. Is it World's Finest? Is it something else? I guess we'll find out soon enough. He's asked, is there anything more that you can say about the mystery project that you're writing next? Is the project that you'll direct next? He goes, well, I'll always leave saying I'm going to direct something till I'm actually done with the screenplay. And then I say, yeah, I want to do this, but it's probably what I'll direct. Yeah, probably. To be totally realistic, yes, probably. Then they talk about Justice League Dark, how Guillermo del Toro wanted to do it. He said, yeah, I love Guillermo. He actually owns a movie theater with him, but he hasn't talked to him about doing it. Sometimes things just get brought up about people wanting to do certain movies that aren't really ever true. That kind of happened. They talk about Sergeant Rock. He says he feels like they're in a pretty good place with it. They're still moving forward, but it's not going to be, what would Peter want me to say here? So it's still moving forward, but yeah, right now it isn't where I wanted it to be creatively, so it needs to change a little bit. He's asked about Paradise Lost. He says it's moving along. It's slow moving, but it's moving. And yeah, I really love that project a lot. And he says, is that really directly connected to your larger plans for Wonder Woman? He goes, yes, well, yes and no. Wonder Woman's a separate thing. We're working on Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman's being written right now. What? Wonder Woman's being written right now? We actually kind of knew that already. So it's different. I mean, not different. They're connected. She's from effing Themyscira. So also, a lot of people, I'm sure, are blowing you up on social media, probably in person too, about the state of Batman 2. This one, we kind of already know. He talks about how Matt Reeves takes his time to write, and that he can't wait to read the script. He wants to give him as much time as he needs and let him do his thing, is essentially it. And that's pretty much how it is. And we heard also that the script is due to be turned in this month. And I guess some more news came out today that filming is supposed to start in January. There you have it. And then one last question is, are there other characters who will appear in Superman who have not been announced yet? And he says yes. And there you have it. That's the Entertainment Weekly interview. It's a lot of fun. Look, I got to say that there's a lot of information that was here, and it's exciting to see James Gunn getting out there doing a lot of this. But I have to say, look, my excitement you saw was fully for the future of DC. Look, I'm fully on board for Superman too. But this future of DC has gotten me hyped up. Super hyped up. Like, you have no idea how amped up I am for the future of DC right now. It is fantastic. I'm so excited for it. And I hope you guys are too. Like, I really do. What else do we got here? Oh, there was a new little 30-second tease that dropped. I'm not going to play the audio, but although it does have some great audio. But I love this flying scene, right? Like, look at this flying scene. Like, I can't wait to see that on the big screen. Great scene. Some more dialogue, but it's more along the lines of Superman talking about how everybody gets it wrong about him, but how he is human, and it's the human side of him that makes him how he is and how great he is. And I'm guessing he brings that up because of how Lex Luthor looks at him as an alien, as a mutant, or not a mutant, a Martian or whatever. And that's kind of what this TV spot was all about. But there is a great shot here. I love this shot right here. Is such a fantastic shot. Yeah. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for this. So that was that released. James Gunn says he studied All-Star Superman for all seasons, Fleischer cartoons, Donner, and Miyazaki for the Superman visuals. He says, I wanted something elegant, no shaky cam, no darkness for darkness sake. This is clean, cinematic Superman. Hold on, I gotta take a drink here. I know he and Zach are friends. I do. But did he kind of just take a swing at Zach? No shaky cam, no darkness for darkness sake. This is a clean cinematic Superman. Look, I love Man of Steel. I liked the shaky cam. It made it feel more down to earth, that movie, a little bit. So that's why I kind of like the use of shaky cam in it. But no darkness for darkness sake. It's interesting, and I do like that how he studied All-Star for all seasons, the Fleischer cartoon, stuff like that. I do like how he studied those and really got an idea of where he wanted to take the his movie specifically. So that'd be interesting. Superman and Peacemaker are very important. We already talked about that. I gotta read nothing there. All of my tweets. Oh. And then this here. And then that's just his favorite thing. So yeah, I think I covered everything except one more thing that I want to talk about. That is kind of a big deal, and I know all of you want to talk about. Because if I don't, you all get very angry with me. What are you guys saying over here? While that's loading, what are you guys saying over here? I see you guys talking about me and Aaron for some reason. He blocked me. I mean, it is what it is. It's been kind of sad not getting to see his stuff pop up all the time and not getting to make fun of him. It's unfortunate. Bass Reeves said Slav can't even deal with Aaron Fisher. I okay then. Sure. Bass, are you Aaron? Is this Aaron's alt account? Is this your burner account, Aaron? Is this who this is? I bet you it is. I don't know. Somebody should do some investigating. Is this Bass Reeves account even a real account on YouTube? Is it a brand new account? I don't know. Movie talk, Bass. That's not true. Slash challenge here to debate. I do. I challenge any person who is a naysayer, who is somebody that loves to spread misinformation or lies about the current DC studios, DCU. It doesn't even need to be James Gunn. I don't care. You don't even need to bring up James Gunn. If you just have a hate boner for the DCU and whatever it is, I open invitation to have a debate, discussion, whatever it is. It could be your show, my show. I don't care. All right. All right. All right. Let's get to the last topic I want to talk about here. So we got some new tracking for the opening weekend for Superman. And I know a lot of people are a little concerned. Some people are, not everybody. And I brought this up a couple weeks ago when we heard that first tracking from, I don't know, some weird website that was like, oh, tracking for Superman's like 175, 180, something like that. And I was like, guys, this is early tracking. Keep that in mind, but this is exciting. I did say it was exciting to hear, but it was early tracking. It was very early tracking. But here we sit, a few weeks out. Deadline is showing that Superman hits tracking with 90 million to 125 million US opening. Okay, that's not bad. That is not bad because, again, that's roughly what I would expect. That is roughly what I would expect. Okay, but here's the thing. That's not the only one. I thought I pulled that up too, but I did not, I guess. Hollywood Reporter is tracking for 135 million. So which one is accurate? Which one is accurate? Well, if you're a little confused on why there's two different trackings, let me kind of lay it out for you a little bit. All right. So we'll look at the Hollywood Reporter first. Hollywood Reporter says with 3 weeks left to go, James Gunn and Superman is tracking to open in the $135 million range at the domestic box office. If that forecast is right, Superman would land high up on the list of DC openings, although it would lag well behind the 166 for 2016's Batman vs. Superman, not adjusted for inflation. At the same time, it would come in safely ahead of the last solo Superman movie, which was Man of Steel at 116. The 135 million stat is from leading tracker service National Research Group. According to sources with access to the data, NRG always provides a range in addition to a solo number. In this case, the range for Superman's domestic opening is 125 to 145. Tracking is hardly a science, and projections have been notably off in number of instances from all services. All services. To that end, insiders at DC Studios and Warner's are being more conservative in suggesting 90 million to 125, although anything less than 100 million might be seen as a blemish. Okay, going to stop there because at this point they just start talking about like the comparisons to other movies. The leading research group, which is NRG, National Research Group, is putting Superman at 125 to 145. All right, 125 to 145 for the 3-day weekend. That is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's not Thursdays. That's not the 8th. That's not anything that opens up on the 9th. So that's not the 8th, 9th, or 10th. Anything that happens on the 8th, 9th, or 10th is not included there. Keep that in mind. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This is that number. 125 million to 145 million. Keep that in mind. That is their number. Now, like Deadline is reporting, which is right down here, the 90 to 125, that 90 to 125 is what DC Studios and Warner's is leaning towards. Now, why are they doing that? Why are they leaning that way? Why do they lean lower? They do it for a couple of reasons. One of the big reasons is they're investors and they're stockholders and things like that. They don't want to over judge a film. They don't want to sit there and over track a film and piss off their investors and such. That's one of the reasons. Two, they're going to keep their expectations kind of in check. They know what movie they have. They are fully confident in this movie. They're very confident in this movie. That's why they're showing it on the 8th. That's why they are doing all the different things that they're doing, showing 30 minutes of it to all these places that they're traveling around at, doing all these different promotions and like all this stuff they're doing. They have all the confidence in this movie, more confidence than I think any studio has had in a movie in a long, long, long time. They have confidence in this film. So them sitting back and saying, you know what, this movie can make 90 to 125. That's not them saying we don't have confidence. That's not them saying this movie's not going to do well. No, they're sitting back, one, and they're saying themselves, because studios have their own tracking systems. They have their own people who sit there and track films. They also utilize different companies. There are many companies out there and systems who will sit out there and services who will sit out there and track these things. Okay. It's not a perfect science. There's many different things that you take a look at with this kind of stuff. Yes, the leading one is NRG. That's the one that a lot of people look at and talk about all the time, but it's not always accurate. It's not always accurate to go by what the studio says. And there's a lot of times when a movie can track really high and it makes really low. There's a movie that can track really low and it can make really high. Again, it's not a perfect science. Am I sitting here worried? Not even a little. My true estimates for Superman are about 120, 130 high end is what I'm thinking for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Now, that absolutely could jump to that 145, 150. If, say, that 8th and 10th, those early screenings, word of mouth just gets out there and people love it. And people love it, love it, love it. And people will be like, well, damn, I guess I'm going to see Superman instead of Jurassic Park or Jurassic World or whatever it is. But I suspect 120 to 130, 140, that makes a lot of sense. And that's not anything to balk at. Not at all. That's not anything to balk at all. That is actually very admirable. In this climate, when it comes to superhero films, that is not anything to balk at. Word of mouth, which is the talk of the town, that is the phrase of the summer, it seems, that is absolutely going to be what drives Superman. Yes, it is. Let's not forget that Superman has a lot of baggage. It has to rid itself of the old Snyderverse. It has to rid itself of the old DCEU. It has to rid itself of all that crap. So people need to be told, this is not that. This is something new. This is something fun. This is something hopeful. This is something exciting. So people need to be told that before they go see it. That's why my expectations are $700 to $800 million. That's reasonable. That makes sense. That's a successful film. Now, mind you, if the movie were to suck, if it sucks and it makes less than $100 million, it makes $80 million. Yeah, I'd be a little worried. I'd be a little worried. I would be kind of worried. But I don't see that happening. I think there's so much hype around it. We've seen that these pre-ticket sales, we've seen what, like almost $20 million already in pre-ticket sales for anything before the weekend, essentially. So right there, if they're tracking alone for 90 to 120, let's say they make 110, 120 between the weekend and the early viewings, you're looking at $140 million right there within the first 5 days. And that's damn solid. That's just domestically. That's solid. And then you add in the potential for the overseas, the international, making another 1 to 200. You're looking at almost 400, nearly 400. We'll say 350 to be on the conservative side. 350 in its first weekend. That's not bad. And if the word of mouth is good, week 2, you're looking at maybe another 250, 300 in week 2. Like, come on. And that's combined. I'm talking about domestically and international on week 2. That's not bad. Not bad at all. And you can't forget about all the walk-ins, the people, that once they hear on, and when I say walk-ins, I'm talking about Monday through Friday. So you're looking at possibly another, 10 million, 15 million during the week, maybe. I'm not worried for this movie financially. I know a lot of people want to drum up this fake narrative that it's scary. You got to be scared about what this movie's going to make financially. Woo! There's no reason to be afraid. This movie's going to do fine. It's absolutely going to do fine. There's no reason to be afraid. I think these numbers, we may see them go up in the next week. Next week, they may jump up. The week after, maybe even go up even higher. Who knows? But if you ask me, this is right around what I'm seeing, imagining. That's what I would figure. I think it's a good number. But I'd love to hear what you guys think. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Are you excited? Do you think these are accurate numbers? 135 from the NRG, NRG, and then DC Studios and Warner saying more like 90 to 125. What are your thoughts? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button, hit subscribe for more from me. Hunter Iggy says, did you see my comment? I don't know if I did. Let me see. That's not. Oh, here it is. Go look what Sean O'Rourke posted on his YouTube about the box office tracking. I don't know if I want to do that. That takes so much work. Come on, man. So much work. Gotta go find him. I don't even think I follow him on here. I don't know. There he is. Do that. That's not what I want. Posts. That's Darth Vader. He says, what happened to 150 to 175 million projection? Oh, the ticket sales are limping along. The Flash was tracking opening weekend of 115 and ended up with 55 million. If Jurassic World, Rebirth, Smurfs, and Fantastic Four perform halfway decent, Superman will end up around 575 globally. Again, he doesn't understand. Like, I tried explaining to people before that tracking from before was early tracking. It was early tracking. You can't trust that. And again, Jurassic World's tracking. What is Jurassic World tracking? Tracking is 120 to 125. So it's tracking less than what Superman's tracking. Like I don't know why people think that it's going to be some big thing. And Fantastic Four is tracking about the same as Superman, roughly the same. So, these people think that it's, well, I don't know. I'm not going to get into it. It's just some of these people just they think they know what they're talking about, but they really don't. Kick says right after Superman, we have Peacemaker season 2. We eating good. Indeed, we are. Indeed, we are. Hope for Life says I'm seeing Superman twice. I'm seeing at least twice, probably 3 times that first weekend. Kick says I won't be able to see it more than once because of work, but I will watch it over and over once it goes on streaming. Make sure you buy it too. Gotta support them. Orange Fury. In a standard movie theater, people are really buying their tickets 3 days before the movie. Trayvon, under promising, over delivering. Deadlines, WBDC's mouthpiece. THR is reporting what everyone else is really expecting. Yes. Lawrence says it's only IMAX tickets that have been selling and 4DX. Movie Talk Now, 125 million would be an insane opening box office number. Indeed. Especially for a DC movie. Like, what? I don't get what people don't understand. And then you have people that are like, but it's a Superman movie. It has to be a billion gazillion dollars because it's a Superman. It's Superman. It's Superman. It's like, guys, like, no. Do you understand the damage that was done to DC prior to James Gunn coming in? Like, they have to be conservative. They have to understand what they're going to get. They have to win the audience back. That is why this is not like this big expectation. This is what's the word I'm looking for? Excuse me, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but this is just to draw people in. Like, they need to get people back into DC. That's all it is. And Trayvon says, here's to the baby boom kick started by Superman. Terrific. All right, guys, this was a heck of a show. Thank you all for joining in. I'm going to get out of here. The Watcher says, I'm defending Snyder cultists. I'm not defending Snyder cultists. I'm just saying haters are wild. Yeah. And the Jurassic World tracking is for 5 days that I said. That's crazy. That's wild. But I am going to get out of here. Yes. Bring back the music. It's been a while. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but it's been a while. But guys, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you so much for joining again. I apologize for being a day late, but we made it. We got here. I will be back on Monday. Hopefully. Yeah, I'll be here Monday for Slav's Free Talk podcast. Be ready. I may be making a cool little announcement here within the next week or so. Something cool that I want to get to everybody. So it should be exciting. So keep an eye, an ear, and specifically an eye out for it. So with all that said, guys, thank you all for tuning in. With all that said, I'll catch you all later.